Later this week, the left government in Kerala will be organizing the Global Ayyappa Conference. One of those who's going to be attending this will be Tamil Nadu Minister Mr. P. Thiagarajan, who's joining us now to talk about not just that, but also various aspects of Tamil Nadu politics as well as national politics. Thank you so much, Mr. Thiagarajan, for joining us here at Times Now. And let me begin by asking you, Tamil Nadu Chief Minister has appointed you, along with HRNC Minister Shekhar Babu, to represent the state at the upcoming Global Ayyappa Summit in Kerala. Let me begin by talking about your family's historical association with the installation of the idol at Sabarimalai, and at the same time, you're known as a minister of a party which vigorously advocates Periyar's ideology. How do you reconcile these two aspects of your identity, and isn't it true that tradition and ideology stand at two completely opposite poles in your case?
Actually, no. First of all, thank you for the opportunity. I think it's a very profound question, right? The ideology of Periyar actually is misunderstood by many. And at least as far as the social justice movement of the Justice Party is concerned, which we all say we are descended from, the notion of that you have to be an atheist or that you have to be a denier is completely antithetical to the movement. The movement which started with the formation formally of the SIPA and the SILF in 1916, the registration of the society and limited stock company, was the movement that pushed for the nationalization of the king's temples, the cultural artifacts, which had been lost in the lineage of property rights over many centuries. So it was precisely because they were profound believers and they wanted to preserve the cultural artifacts that the creation of the Hindu Religious Endowment Department Ministry and the nationalization of these cultural artifacts of the kings and emperors' temples, which could not come through a direct line of title or pata, was done. So there is no inherent, I would say, at least for me, my family has been in the movement since the inception of the movement from 1916. My great-granduncle was one of the signatories and purchasers of the shares in the SIPA and the SILF. He was the founding vice president. From then till now, we have always continued to have faith in our own way. And I think the principle of the movement is much more that everybody should be allowed to practice their own faith in their own way without being hidebound or driven to customs dictated by other people.
Right, because your grandfather played a very important role in taking the idol across the state, even popularizing the pilgrimage as far as Ayyappa is concerned. And in that context, today, when you see various aspects of criticism coming in, whether it's in the context of caste, gender, as well as religious nationalism, in the context of these current debates, how do you see this legacy?
Well, first, let me give you my understanding of the legacy. The nationalizations of temples in Madras Presidency led to the creation of what was then the HRE department, and then later became the HR&CE department. And Sir C.P. Ramasamy Iyer was one of the big advisors for the formation of this second act after independence in the 1950s. And the notion was always that we should preserve these as wonderful examples of our history, of our architecture, and also of continuous faith over millennia in many cases of these temples. If you take the shore temples in Mahabalipuram, which are the epitome of Pallava stone architecture, and they were the pioneers actually in it. In my family's case, actually, we can trace our history back to, because of the community I come from, we can trace our history to our common ancestor who moved to Madurai in the 1540s or so as the army chieftain and later the minister and prime minister of the Nayak kingdom of Madurai in the 1540s. And then he served for 3 or 4 after Viswanatha Nayak descendants, created many systems of administration. He was called Arinatha Mudaliar. And he, among other things, built the 1,000-pillar hall in Madurai temple and in Tirunelveli Ayyappa temple, in the Madurai Meenakshi temple. And then his son, Kalathinathan Mudaliar, built the Amman Gopuram and so forth. So we have a long history of association with the temples. In fact, that's why I asked for the Madurai Central constituency as my constituency, though I don't live in it. In the case of the Ayyappan temple, it was not part of the Madras Presidency. It was under the Travancore, it's actually part of the Pandalam kingdom. And because of various financial strains, the Pandalam kingdom had to kind of become a kind of sub to the Travancore kingdom for financial reasons at some point in history. And the history is that maybe the Pandalam kingdoms was an offshoot of the Pandya kings, hence the name. But in any event, when the Travancore board was formed, the Travancore Devaswam board was formed in the 1950s. Around that time, there was a major fire in the Sabarimalai temple, which till then had been a relatively obscure kind of hill-based, maybe tens of thousands of devotees a year temple. And so there was many efforts to renovate the temple, and different people made different attempts. My own understanding of the history of our engagement is that because we were close to the Pandalam family, they and some of the priests consulted some astrologers, the aide Josiah, and were advised to go and ask my grandfather, who had already done a lot and been former chief minister of Madras presidency, to done a lot for temples, to create an idol and donate it for consecration. So I think many others did as well. Different stories come from different places, but the fact is that my grandfather and somebody called Nawab Rajamanikam Pillai, who is a dramatist, play person, again in Madurai Delta area and then the south and southeast of Tamil Nadu.
Right.
Together kind of not only worked on getting this idol made in Kumbakonam near Sabarimalai, but then popularizing it by taking it around different parts. And I have an interesting anecdote about that, but I've been talking for too long, so let me stop here. And
Yeah.